call the meeting to order. We have a quorum, and we will start with Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I did. Well, now you make me question. Pretty sure it was red. Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to number 4, open forum, public input. Is anybody here to?
This me.
Sure. Mrs. Conrad here representing the student council, and so she was just going to present the board with
Some treats,
Yeah.
yes. Well, you might not know this, but January is actually School Board Appreciation Month. And so we baked some cookies for you, and the elementary students wrote you all thank you cards. So, yes, they wanted to share these with you, and we appreciate all that you do for our school. We had a little conversation about what the school board was, so it was a great opportunity as well to learn about that. So this is me telling you thank you on behalf of the elementary. And
we're wondering if we could get a picture.
wondering
with
if
you
we
guys
could get a
too.
picture with you all. Would that be okay?
Could you do a quick picture?
Yeah.
Mrs. Conrad, you got to be in it.
It's okay.
With the photo with the thank yous.
Okay. Here, you get to hold up a card. Yeah, there you go.
Craig, can you back up just a little? There you go. All right, here we go, guys. 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Conrad.
Okay.
Mr. Knepling, Mr. Knepling, no treats from the high school?
You know, I feel bad.
Okay, anyone else?
Next month.
Next month, yeah.
Yep.
Next month.
Yeah, next month. It'll doubly good.
Okay, we will move on to approve agenda and changes to the agenda. We do have some changes here. Under number 7, the approved consent agenda, we have to add letter E, accept donation. And under discussion items, letter A, we are adding policy DIF. And action items, under B, we need to add B, approved teacher apprenticeship program stipend. I will accept a motion to approve the changes to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Schoenfelder, second by Turner, to approve the agenda with those changes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, number 6, conflict of interest. I'm not aware of any new conflicts of interest. 7, approve consent agenda. Approve December minutes, approve claims, approve resignation, approve contracts, and accept donation. I'll accept the motion.
You can read that too. Yeah,
It's right here.
that's who's in there, so.
Okay, school board will pay submitted claims, approve official board minutes from December, approve the resignation of Kay Weber, approve contract for Amanda Schoenfelder as an administrative assistant, and Abby Habeck, girls softball head coach. I'll accept the motion to approve.
So, okay.
Moved by Pearl, second by Turner. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, we'll move on to information staff reports with the high school principal report.
Good evening, everyone. Hey, we got our second semester rolling here. Kind of those first few days, you're kind of settling in, getting the schedule settled. Ad drop day was like last Wednesday, and so I think we're kind of rolling now, right? And kind of still trying to get them in the second semester habits, getting them out of bed and being excited about the day, but it's getting better with every day. I just want to kind of give you a rundown of the dual credit and online stuff. We got 25 different students taking a total of 42 dual credit courses. That'd be, your juniors and seniors. A lot of math and English, also some fine arts. We're talking with one kid. One new fine art that USD is offering is the art of video games. And so we have 3 students taking a fine arts credit called the Art of Video Games. So I'm kind of curious to see how that will go. But so far, so good. For online high school courses, not for college credit, but just an online high school course through Dial, we got 32 students taking a total of 38 courses. That's a lot of your foreign language, Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. There's some students that take what's called medical terminology, and we've gotten some positive feedback for that's a good course that kind of gets them ready for their later health career tech courses. We have an intro to health career class that some kids take and an intro to education class some kids take. A new one that 2 seniors are taking is called Egg Leadership and Communication. We had a new one we let them take in the first semester called Egg Business Management, and this one kind of goes along with it. Just for something new and different as they kind of get to the end, see those kiddos that are heading towards the agriculture field, something new. So we'll see how that goes. We also have 15, possibly 16, doing either an internship or an apprenticeship in the community. About 4 of those are down here on the elementary side in an elementary classroom. The rest are out and about. Probably the newest one I'm kind of excited about is we got a new partnering with Avera St. Benedict, where we have 2 students right now that are interning throughout the entire hospital. So they are working their way through about 5 or 6 different departments throughout the course of the semester. So that way they kind of get a idea of everything that's possible, and so they can kind of hone in on what they possibly like. About the last 3 or 4 weeks, they get to pick their department that they think they like the most and settle in there. So I think that's pretty cool. We got 2 doing it this year. We're still kind of building towards that mindset of like, okay, in 2 years when all of our current sophomores are seniors, that's the first group where a senior experience is required. And so hopefully by then they're thinking they might be able to house 6, 7, maybe even 8 at a time, but we're just starting with 2. Hope being that, they would all be rotating through at the same time there. So pretty cool. Last thing we got, Mrs. Meddy's actually here to talk about Trojan Den, but we found out since the last board meeting, Mrs. Meddy was awarded, she's the Western Region Middle Level Art Teacher of the Year. So you gotta remember how last year you were the Art Teacher of the Year for state of South Dakota, basically, right? And so then, you kind of go on to that next level, and so you take the entire Western Region Teacher of the Year. So congratulations, Mrs. Meddy. She gets to award and present at the national conference in Louisville in late March, about March 20th, I want to say something like that. So congratulations. Pretty
Unless
cool.
we make it to state, Mr. Browning, then we'll not be
Then she will
going.
not be going. Hopefully. Yeah.
We have a month to get you. We're good.
Other than that, I got nothing else. You got any questions for me? Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Meddy's here to talk a little bit about the Trojan Den. So she's gonna just talk about how students have been using that resource, and it's been amazing to have for our students and community. So she's gonna share a little bit about that and how that's been going.
I tried to keep some better numbers this year on stuff going in and out. Still working on how to keep better numbers because I know these are not true numbers because some stuff leaves the Trojan Den, isn't accounted for. We have like an inventory sheet if somebody goes in. But these are from last December to this December. I kind of have a mentor up in Mitchell that helps me out, but she's more of a numbers guru than I am. Shoes and boots though, I have, we had 180 pairs from last December to this December. That's including new ones. I team up with the Lutheran Women Group and Nancy Lorenz for any new ones. They do a bunch of fundraising and then I just help her fill out forms, but she does all the purchasing and everything. As far as kids clothing, tops and bottoms is what we kind of kept track of this year. For kids, so anything like youth sizes, 473 items left. Adult clothing, that's just tops and bottoms, is 302 items. Then hygiene bags, that's a complete bag of items that you get when you come into the Trojan Den, which consists of shampoo, conditioner, body wash, rag, face wash, toothpaste, toothbrushes. We had 52 of those bags leave, and that's not counting individual items. We keep, like when you come in for an individual meeting, we have like a form that you fill out now that kind of tells us what you need and then what you took at the end, and that's been helping me keep numbers too. And then it also helps me see like how many times we've helped certain people, stuff like that, and additional needs that they might have. Notes on the back, some other stuff too. Food expenses, we provide snacks to junior high and high school students throughout the day. Snacks are provided for any student who needs one, junior high and high school. PTO provides elementary snacks, so Trojan Den is more geared towards the upper levels on that if they don't have one, if they didn't bring one. Food packs are provided on last day of the week to help supplement over the weekends. Stuff like frozen hamburger, stuff to make a complete meal. Usually I try to include like a recipe with it and go over stuff because I have certain kids that I know are cooking for the families on the weekends. Holiday meal kits are a big one. We started last year. So like a Thanksgiving box. These are things that the Trojan Den, like we had to buy a couple extras toward the end, but I have organizations, even like FCCLA, some banks in town sign up to provide an entire box for families. We did 12 Thanksgiving boxes this year and 10 Christmas boxes. Meal kits and grocery bags outside of holiday time. That's just like random Sunday phone calls for moms that need some help. 13 families helped on the weekends. That I did not track last school year though, I just started tracking this year. We set up and raised $6,000 for a family who lost their house in a fire. Helped organize incoming donations for them. Organized new beds from Sleep in Heavenly Peace. I work with them on a pretty regular basis with bed builds. Worked with American Red Cross for the first time that weekend. Learned a lot from them. Went out and helped clean the interior of the home and get it painted and ready for, we got them turned around in 3 weeks into a new house ready to go so that way they could focus on school. Elementary needs, I order gloves and just give them to the elementary office at this point so kids aren't going to the Trojan Den for that during recess. We've gone through about 300 pairs of gloves and it's just getting cold. Hats are given out, but we ask them to keep those gloves. Sometimes they bring them back after recess if they're just borrowing and have some at home. Coats and snow pants are used during recess and returned sometimes as they just forgot them unless they need a pair. A lot of stuff that we don't track that kids just return after they use is we even have kids who come down and grab like a shirt if they're doing a lab in science and they don't want to ruin their clothes. Painting too. We have a lot of puking accidents that we need clothes for. They might just need something at school real quick. We give out haircut vouchers. We went through $225 in haircut vouchers last year. They take a voucher down to the salon and then the salons turn it in at the end of the year. We are now working with Avera too, and then the WIC nurses, I kind of contact them for some questions. After the flood, even this summer, we helped a couple families with some food because they had some freezers go out. Have an on-call mechanic at this point who's helped us a couple times get families to school when it's their only car. Prom corsages last year, we have a couple that we have made, and I'm just keeping them on hand to help out with kids who might not have them. School supplies is a big one, especially like the scientific calculators, backpacks, especially when we get new kids coming in on a regular basis. I have lots of kids who forgot their shorts for practice, so they come in and grab those after school. It's nice because then they don't have to run home or call mom and dad. If I get any donations such as wrestling shoes, football spikes, I give those directly to the coaches and they keep those on hand. Hair ties, I get lots of the girls needing hair ties, and on the back we did even simple things like we helped 6 families get Christmas trees this year. That was no cost to us, it's just basically having good connections. Homecoming barbecue, we helped 23 kids buy tickets to the barbecue this year. Snacks for semester testing, we did that at the end of last year, but now PTO is providing those for the high school. We've been stocking the bathrooms at the high school and in the locker rooms with supplies so they don't always have to run down either. Sundays is a big day that I meet with families if it's a large group need. It gives them a little more privacy. Helps them, I made a note here, offers just a little bit more privacy, makes them feel more valued, especially when they can come in one-on-one like that. We've also been helping some families who can't meet the Feeding South Dakota truck as long as they fill out a form with me. My husband's kind of been grabbing their boxes and then we deliver them after school because that's usually during working hours. And the big one is also we've gone through, I'm talking to FFA right now about a community bed build because we've actually had about 10 builds come into the community through Sleep in Heavenly Peace that provides new frames, new mattresses, and new bedding for kids in our community that don't have a bed. Other needs, we've given out dressers. Basically, it's a contact thing. Fridges, I've found people to donate those, but we obviously can't store them. Washer and dryer this summer. Items that we obviously don't have room to store and are rarely needed, but we usually have them within a day to a week to help out most people. So, number-wise, Oh, the meal bags on Fridays, we've been averaging 3 to 7 bags a week. It kind of depends. I know my kids who come in on a regular basis, so that one's been going better. Oh, if we need anything below 4T, I have a contact in Mitchell. There's a baby closet up there, and they've been sending stuff down for us. And then the big thing is just giving them any other available resource that I've found at this point. I attended the National Rural School Conference this October, I think I went there, to Savannah, Georgia. And it was kind of nice, actually. It was for something totally different. I'm doing a grant or a mural on Main Street this summer. But I met with some really cool reps from like the USDA and stuff and went over some of the stuff that I can and can't do as far as regulations go. There was a bunch of school lunch reps there and stuff like that, so I got to make some more contacts on school closets and people that provide for stuff like that. Any questions?
Who's helping you with this, Ms. Manning?
I have learned to ask for a lot more help the last 6 months. Honestly, community-wise, we have a great community. Like, we are constantly getting donations in the elementary entrance. I usually have a bin out there on wheels. So I get stuff probably dropped off almost every day. I'm sure the office is like, hey, Maddie, clean up your stuff every once in a while. And then we have, like, a group of ladies came in to help clean. I usually try to keep the deliveries. I've talked to a couple families. I keep those usually through me because they trust me, they know me, stuff like that. So food deliveries and stuff like that, I usually do them on the weekends, solo, just to keep it confidential. But stuff during the school day, we do keep the Trojan Den locked up during the school days, but about 5 of us have keys, including the school nurse. I have a key and I'm right across from there, so then we go in and out quite a bit. Nancy helps me a lot with shoe needs. Like, we just had another couple come in and she still had some shoe money. So if I put an SOS out, then I get a good amount of help. But I'm also super stubborn and like to do things on my own, so.
Question for you, Miss Meddy, and I should probably know this, but more of a generalization or statement. Was the origination of the Trojan Den guided by essentially a mission statement? Do you recall if it was something?
It was honestly something that I had seen and heard of probably a long, long time ago. It's something that had always been there in the back of my mind. And then the kicker was really Mitchell has a good one going. And so I went up and I shadowed her for a day and kind of saw how she runs hers and what she does to guide hers. Like, that's who I even got our form from and stuff, and I used that. And so not so much even a mission statement. I'd seen the need from helping people quite a bit outside of, because there's a thing called the glass slipper in Mitchell coming up that gives away free prom dresses. That actually started here, and it just got too big for me, and I gave it to some other ladies, and they took it over, and now it's huge. And so I help out with that. So we saw the need, made it happen, and it's just grown from there.
The only reason why I ask is that Mr. Pearl asked the question, who's helping you, for the simple reason that it continues to, you're a mile wide and an inch deep. The mission perhaps with Guide is, what do you support? What does the Den support? How much? What is a not ask? Because
and
the mission is, this is what we do. I mean, you're expanding into everything under the sun, right? I mean, so if there's a mission statement, here's things we do support, here's things perhaps that we don't support.
One big thing is I did learn that over Thanksgiving break. I ran into an issue where I had to make a decision on my own. Now when I backtracked that, I realized it probably wasn't the correct decision. So I'm also working on getting a board put together for the Trojan Den of parents and other leaders who can, basically on weekends like that, I can message them and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Are we willing to support this kind of thing? So it was a learning curve over that time span too. So we are getting I've had about 8 interested, and we're gonna sit down and have a meeting, probably meet once a month, so that way we can go over numbers, and also so I can have some help of, hey, you're a numbers person, can you start making sure we track this, or even cleaning wise. Also be like the main contact, but we ran into an issue where I kind of had to make a gut decision, and looking back, it wasn't the right one.
Well, but you get forced into a situation and you always want to help people in need. You're very good at that. But sometimes, my concern for you is people paint you in a corner and they ask things that, I don't know, I haven't thought about that one, or that's a new one, should I or shouldn't I? I mean, it kind of
I
takes
always
the heat
actually
off
have
of
Joe
you.
Coleman in the back of my head. He always said, Maddie, you have bleeding heart syndrome. And he goes, and that's not something that's always the best. He goes, I know you love to get things done and you love to help everybody. He goes, but at some point you have to know when to say no.
So just a
Yeah.
suggestion. You know.
Yeah. No, we are working on that after the holiday break.
I would pursue the board
Yep.
situation very much.
Absolutely. And we do have quite a few ladies interested. We're working on timing and what all is involved. Yeah. And again, it's all volunteers, so. Yeah.
Thanks for this, though, that was good.
Yeah, I'm getting better at the numbers thing. It's my first pie chart since college, guys. I'm pretty proud of that baby. I know.
Thank you, Mrs. Meddy. A lot of help there. I can attest to the first day back from winter break. We had a lot of kids forgetting hats and gloves, even though we're battling those below zero temps. So very helpful to have that available to us whenever we need it. Just no real big other things to report from the elementary end. Did kind of want to just update you guys. We have a couple student teachers, and so just wanted to make you guys aware of some of those. In kindergarten, Amy Matthias has a student teacher, and in the music department, Shelley Fink's going to have a student teacher going. And then Brooke Horseman is going to be going on a maternity leave, so we'll have actually one of our former student teachers who would work first semester at the high school end is coming to help us out there. So going to have some new faces in the hallways, and so just kind of wanted you guys to be aware of that, as well as a couple of our paras who have completed their program to get into a student teaching position. So we have Christy Zebart, who will be student teaching, and Christy Bieber, who will be student teaching. So a lot of kind of new things happening there, so just kind of wanted to update you guys on that. AD report, athletics have been going well. Wrestling, boys and girls have been competing and doing well there. We had Randy actually got a 5th place at her tournament this last weekend, and the boys got 3rd up in Miller. So things are going well there. Basketball, both boys and girls are off to a solid start. Things are rolling right along as we progress through that. Choir is taking a big trip on Friday out to Rapid City, where they'll be performing out there for an event that they were selected to perform at, so that's kind of an exciting thing for them. We also had our one-act play performance on Friday night, and it was a great show. They're gearing up to compete at the region level in 2 weeks, and so they're getting ready to do that. But it was a great show, and excited about what we got going on there. So everything, it's busy, and everybody's going, and so it's been good, and excited about all the work that the kids are putting in and the coaches and advisors have put in along with that. And then finally, just wanted to, again, we've been a little short-handed with our custodial staff, and so just kind of wanted to publicly thank all that have been helping out to clean up after events or help set up, or the custodians that we do have working a little extra to get things ready to go. And it's just kind of everybody pitching in to make it go. It fits in with our elementary mindsets. When we talk about that as an elementary, we talked about 100% accountable in December, and so encouraged our kids that were at the basketball games, and the coaches did the same. If you're there after the game, we're cleaning up, help grab a garbage bag and dump it into the trash. And it's been kind of cool to see how everybody's come together to do that. And this month, the elementary mindset is attitude of gratitude. And I think it's just a good reminder and how thankful we need to be for the custodians we have, because when they're missing, we all are picking up the work there and realizing how thankful we need to be for all that they do. So just wanted to go out and say thank you to everybody that's helped kind of keep everything running the way that it has been. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you. Okay, superintendent report.
Just a couple of things real quick. I printed off the latest legislative component where the bills have been dropped. There's 8 different House bills so far, and then there's 4 Senate bills. We're going to deal with a variety of things that are going to impact education for the good or for the bad in some way, shape, or form. Some of them are things that I think we already do. I don't know why they're dropping bills. With some things, I'll give you an example, like all certified educators have to take a course of South Dakota Indian Studies. Well, you have to have a Native American course right now to get a certificate. So I don't know what that's about. So maybe there's just some disconnect with that as to this particular person dropping this bill. The main thing is still going to be the education savings accounts. That is a direct threat, and that's on your discussion items to consider a resolution to oppose the education savings account. That is perhaps going to be addressed either through the budgetary process in Pierre, or there's been 2 bills that have been drafted and dropped in the House at this point, and both of them are to the creation of an education savings account for students. So I am working on a document that perhaps I am going to post in some way, shape, or form. And if I don't post it, I perhaps may sit myself in front of a camera and have nobody around so nobody can make fun of me when I'm doing that, and then edit it as I see fit, and then post that so people understand and have an explanation from a school's perspective what an education savings account is and potential harmful effects of what that is for public education. So working on that, and the legislative session starts tomorrow. So buckle up and get ready for the ride. So lots of various different bills that are coming out there. Some are, it makes your head scratch, like, what is that? And then some of them, I suspect, are certainly worth debating and having a conversation about. So I will keep you up to date and keep you informed. You were all involved in the Legislative Action Network. I put everybody's name on that form here a couple months ago, so if you end up getting emails, and you get inundated with that stuff, I delete as you see fit, or read and, discuss it with legislators or even myself if it's something that you think that we should address.
Mr. McMahon?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how, or what position our representatives have on the education savings?
Yep, so our parent school administrator, South Dakota, is definitely opposed. Okay. And your Associated School Boards, South Dakota, your parent organization, is on record in opposition as well. I believe SDEA is obviously in opposition to that. So your major educational lobbying groups have all taken a stance in opposed to education savings accounts.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any word on our senators or representatives?
I've visited with all 3 of them, one face-to-face, 2 of them by email, and they've assured me in our district that they will not be in favor of any educational savings account dialogue or passage of any bill, or even when it gets to the point, if the governor takes that approach where she's trying to implement this into the appropriations component and then going to the appropriations committee for the $4 million that she's asked for in her budget, that they will do what they can to lobby the appropriations committee against the creation or the identifying of $4 million for education savings accounts. So, where we stand, I think we're pretty understanding of that, and our legislative body or our representatives are in lockstep with a fundamental belief that it's going to have a huge impact on public education, and all negative for the most part. But you got 2 people here that each drafted a bill and dropped it in there and think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So, who knows what it's going to turn into in Pierre. So, good questions. Anything else on that? Just real quick, that our James Valley Education Special Education Cooperative that we're a member of, which is Woonsocket, it's Mitchell Public, and it's Sanborn Central and Parkston, has been since forever. That longtime administrator and director of our SPED co-op, James Valley, Tracy Christensen, has submitted a letter of resignation, but she's retiring. So we're going to go through the hoops as 4 superintendents to try to find a replacement for that. So just wanted to wish her the best. She had 42 years in education, and a greater majority of that in that James Valley Special Education co-op. So she's done a lot of good things. And then the other thing is, I'll get the school calendar committee together here at the end of January. It's typically when we do that, just so you know. And if you heard things from the public, or you have your own thoughts about anything from the calendar, dates, whether that's professional development, in-service, holidays, things of that nature, please reach out to me, let me know. We can, when we start creating that calendar for next year, we'll have those conversations as a calendar committee. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to discussion items. Policy review, first reading, policies FEC, FED, FEE, FEFA, FEEB, FEG, FLDIF. Any comments or questions on those?
We're in the facilities component of the manual. So, FEC is facilities development plans and specs. ED is construction cost estimates, determination. Site acquisition is FEE. FA is contractors, fair employment clause. FEFB, bonds for public improvement. How to go through a bid bond, supervision, FEG, supervision of the construction by the school district. So, and then also retirement of facilities, which it's always good to have in there. I don't know that's ever been, it hasn't been done in your district since you transitioned out here, so you had to retire the facility that is now the home footprint. So something that's always relevant at some point in time. Hopefully none of us ever have to foresee that with this institution here, but it's just something to have at your disposal. And the very last one that doesn't seem to fit is DIF. It's kind of an outlier. We went through the audit here over Christmas, and some of the conversations that we had with the auditors, Craig and I, and one of the conversations was about our fraud and prevention policy, reporting policy. We have one, and it's in the old manual based on the website, but it's not anything included in our new manual that we're transitioning to. So essentially that's just going through that again and making sure all the components of that, based on their suggestion, is accounted for. So that's why I put that in there, because then it'll become in our assembly policy manual that is guides what we do here. So that's that one in general. So those are your first readings, so to speak.
Questions? Okay, we will move on. Policy review, second reading, policy FA, FB, FC, FD, FEA, and FEB. Second reading, I don't believe there's any changes last time,
There
so.
was not. Let me take that back here a second, real quick. FEB, you brought it up, Matt, and I looked into it for you. So FEB was selecting of the architecture, and had the stipulation of the facilities that had to be 5,000 square foot. I did get a hold of Mr. Freeman, school attorney, and said, hey, I can't find this anywhere in codified law. Does it truly have to be that way? And he did respond and said, yes, he couldn't cite me the actual South Dakota codified law, but if you're going to build anything as a school district that is 5,000 square foot or over, yes, you are required to hire that particular construction firm, an architect, whoever, to help guide that process. So that's, you're kind of stuck with that one.
Okay.
So it's not determined on dollar figures, it's square footage?
In this, yes, particular policy. And I said, well, can we play with the square footage on that? I said, what if can we say it had to be 10,000 square foot? And he didn't advise that we do that. I mean, he said, it is what it is. So anything 5,000 above, you're in your best interest as a board to make sure that you're hiring an architect, construction manager, somebody like that to go through that design process. So that's, I take that was for your second one there, so.
Okay, no more any questions. We'll move on to policy review, third reading. Policy EFB, EGAA, EH, EI, EIBA. And if there's no questions, I'll accept a motion for approval.
So moved.
I'll second it, Craig.
Moved by Schoenfelder and second by Prohl to approve those policies. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Discussion item, letter D, funding girls softball and girls wrestling.
So this has been a past, probably going on 3 months now of the question as to whether the board would take a look at funding those two programs. And 2 months ago, I believe it was discussed amongst you guys, the board, about perhaps that you would consider that if the stipulation that Ethan School Board was willing to partake in the half the expenses of either of those programs. Well, you know, they were a month behind us in that whole process. I believe it's on their agenda tonight for conversation or an actual decision. And visiting with Mr. Hawkins as to a straw poll of what he felt the board would do. He did not foresee that the Ethan School Board would take any affirmative action and to support funding either program for this particular school year, only because it was not in the budget that was adopted in July. It was not accounted for. Nothing to do with, hey, we don't want to do this, they're not worthy, that we shouldn't, anything of that nature. It was more about where the budget stood at this time and add at this time, just something that they weren't going to entertain. It was discussed amongst him and I that perhaps if it's still your guys' decision, that suggestion would be to make a donation to the programs, and then whatever that looks like. You know, one of the suggestions him and I agreed to try to advocate for you guys as school board members. If both of those districts, Jed, I think you asked this last month, can it be the same? Whatever we do, if we do something like that, could it be equal? And he didn't have any reservations about that, nor did I, but a simple gesture of support would be a $500 donation to both programs, and then the utilization of the school vehicle. In this case, a 15-passenger van, and I think they have a 15-passenger van or even a minibus, you know, in the time of need when they need that. So, I mean, that's kind of where you sit at this deal, or this issue that has been on the agenda for 3 months. So, with that, I guess I'll let you guys discuss or have whatever conversation you need to have. So,
Thoughts, anyone?
$500 per program, so our out-of-pocket would be $1,000, correct? I'd be fine with that.
yep, I agree.
We need a help. So as long as it gets on next year's budget.
Yeah, and it was all with the caveat, and he agreed, and him and I are gonna sit down throughout the rest of the school year this spring and work on a cooperative agreement that is more inclusive, it's more descriptive, it's more detailed, and part of that is to try to come up with some sort of funding mechanism for the two school districts that, you know, when we take it, when we bring it back to both school boards, that it's something that you guys can live with. And it starts with the premise that, you know, both programs will be funded from the get-go. So, you know, that's in there, you know, John. It's not being, you know, dismissed. It's not being swept under the rug. It's something that come budget time, Craig and I know that going ahead. If that's the decision, then we know we have to account for that. So.
Okay, you want a motion on that, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
A motion to donate to the softball and girls wrestling a stipend of $500 to each program.
And the use of school vehicles.
And the use of school vehicles, yes, correct.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Craig, so can we have also that this funding gets put in next year's budget?
You can put that in the motion.
Okay.
Is that okay, Jeff?
That's fine, yes.
Jill, are you still with us? Put her on the spot.
I'm here.
Yeah, okay. You okay?
Yep, I'm good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Got it. Any other discussion? So I got donation of $500 to girls softball and girls wrestling, along with the use of the along with the use of
School
school vehicles, because it might not need to be the
Yeah.
15 passenger, for the FY '25 school year, and funding will be included in the FY '26 school year budget. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, discussion item E, discuss resolution opposing school voucher funding by state legislature.
Yeah, I don't know how you want to do this, other than I suspect I could read this. It was in your guys' packet. Essentially, it's a resolution. I did not draft this. Obviously, this came from School Administrators Associated School Boards, your parent administrator and school boards organizations, essentially outlining, reasons and rationale as to why we should be opposed to the school voucher movement in the state of South Dakota. So, I could read through every bullet point here, but if you've read it, you understand it. It's more about questions as, at this stage of the game. If you want to support it, that's a whole different beast. But me sitting as your hired superintendent, I would tell you, let's not do that if we want a school district here. So,
Anybody have any concerns on that? Okay.
Was there ever any discussion what would happen to the $4 million that she's proposing if they don't do anything with this?
so in joint appropriations, when that comes up, when every line item gets their dollar amount, right? So if that particular appropriations committee does not put that into the final general fund bill, so to speak, it just won't be in there. Where does the $4 million go? Nobody can even answer the question where the $4 million is coming from at this stage of the game. That's one of the angst about all this, although the comment has been made in her budget address that it will not impact K-12 public education in any way, shape, or form with the funding formula. When you're taking $4 million out of the general fund, it's coming out of somebody's pocket. So nobody has an answer to that, Scott. So what happens to that? It's just not built into the appropriations bill, therefore does not get funded. What happens to the suggested $4 million? I don't know, divvied out, handed out, stays in. It could be a variety of different answers to that. So, good question though.
Would you like a motion to approve that?
Yeah. To oppose.
Yep.
Correct. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Moved by Scott Turner, second by John Paul. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to action items, approve the financial report.
It's your goldenrod in your package here. Scott has some, or Craig probably has some clarifications on any of that.
And then the one other thing that I gave you was the sheet right here that Scott has.
One pager.
That's kind of the breakdown of the project. So the total architectural fees was $391,673.80. The Pitts construction fees, which was the total bid, with change orders and everything, came up to $6,198,602.42. That also included the construction management fees as well. And whatever we used in contingency, because remember the original bid with the contingency and construction management fees was $6,330,000 something. I have it here on the sheet. $6,366,853.76 was what the original. So it came in after all said and done. The contingency, basically we didn't spend all $350,000 in contingency. Okay, there. But now the other ads was the weight room, equipment, and flooring, because that was not part of the bid, so that's half of it. And then the other half is other things like that Mr. Ram had on that one spreadsheet that he's been keeping track of all throughout this process. the wrestling mats, the wall pads, the bleachers, the, what else was there, Mr. M?
Too many,
Too many things to,
without seeing the
yeah, I got it
spreadsheet.
in one of these, I had brought too many sheets.
But it's, we've seen that
There it is.
before, there you go. Highlighted.
Scoreboards in the new facility, those weren't included. Landscaping, curb and rock edging around the front, over the high school and over here. Sealing the concrete new floors that we weren't planning on having to do in the wrestling room. Fitness space mirrors, training room equipment, camera security, that was a big one that wasn't taken into consideration. Door security access as well, those two things were $35,000 about of it. The cheer mat, those are some of the things that are included in that $306,000 down in there below. So total, all said and done for the most part, $6,896,332.
So it's a big number, but I think that
You
came
built,
out well for what.
it was
we got, I
built
think.
less than
Yeah.
what it was
Yeah.
quoted for, and even what it was, the bids came in, it was still less than what the bids were.
Yeah.
And a lot of it had to do with 150,000 plus that you did not use in your contingency. So, while there was some change orders, my experience has been, this is one of the better projects I've seen where the change orders were few and far between. It seemed like a lot, but the total expenses of the change orders, like, there was no roof forgotten on this place where the roof was gonna end up costing you an inordinate amount of money. I've had an experience with that, by the way, so I think I've told you that, so I don't know how you miss a roof, but.
And I assume our interest income is not
So,
included in here?
no, so
No, it's
here's,
not.
so the capital certificates were $7,004,579.
Say that again?
$7,004,579. When you sold capital outlay certificates, that was your dollar amount that you received. And after the interest, I made $197,000 on the interest in that time frame. So those two added together, we, you know, the capital outlay, the sale of those certificates, you got $7,202,235. So that's about, what, 300 and some thousand more than what the total cost was.
Give me the number one more time. 722.
202, 235.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, sorry. 202, 235.
So then, our capital outlay balance here, we're back to parity now.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep, and so that 904,000 after the first tax payment is in. But I'm doing a wire transfer tomorrow that you approved in the bills up above of 152,000 for the interest payment on this will be the third interest payment. And we've made one capital outlay certificate payment so far. Because we started interest payments last December, was the first one.
Yeah.
And then in July, we made a we've already paid off $220,000 worth of certificates, because I got the certificate back already, paid off. And then we paid the interest now for the third time. Because we make an interest payment and a capital outlay certificate payment in July.
And those certificates, that total amount, we're required to spend all of that. Have we done all that? What do we have left on that to spend?
I don't know if there's we've spent it.
Okay.
But, I mean, you've spent $6,900,000 of the 704.
Right.
So, what do we talked about one other thing that we had to do. What was that? I forgot about it already.
Well, the only thing that we really got.
Oh, the floor covering. A possible floor
Yeah,
covering.
possible floor covering, but it was utilization of, even with the grant, using some of that stuff for the playground.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, they're not asking me for accounting queries for
Okay.
anything. The
Okay.
capital is, that's not like a federal grant and things like that. where
You
I
have the
provide-
freedom to basically use that for any capital infrastructure that you
Yeah.
really want.
Okay.
So
Yes.
I just thought it had to be used by a certain date. I don't.
that I'm still not 100% sure. I'm talking to Mr. Scott. I don't want to say there was like a 3-year window there that
Okay.
it had to be expended.
Okay.
It's not something that you can just continue to sit on.
Right.
Well, I don't have it in a savings account anymore, so it's done.
Technically spent.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Because there's, if you look, there's no longer that second column of capital outlay on here
Right.
that showed that amount
Yep.
that we were taking from each time.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so it's all done and that savings account is closed at the bank. We're not making interest on it anymore or anything like that. It's all over into the regular capital outlay now. And when you look, not far off from what we were 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
So now it's in here. And on both the capital outlay and the general fund, you invested those amounts down below, 600 and 800?
Yes, yep.
Any guesstimation, Craig, you know this better than I do as far as, okay, you have second coming of taxes in what, May?
Yep.
What does that typically generate?
Well, it'd have to
It's
look
not
up
as
one
big
more.
as the first one, I suspect, is it?
No, it's not usually, but I bet you it's probably gonna be about, I would guess 500,000.
Yeah.
So getting back to the project, would administration, would you have changed any of the other players? Would you have used somebody else? Were you happy with the architecture,
Yeah.
the
No,
peaks?
it was while it was a new experience, a learning experience, I've been part of a building project before, but obviously I wasn't the one sitting in the driver's seat, so to speak, but both General, the contractor, all the subs, Pitts was awesome, and even Architect Incorporated was very responsive, very accountable, supportive, suggestive, you know, this versus that, and basically what I would call the aesthetic, what it turned out to be like, right? You know, so a lot of that stuff, we didn't have a lot of conversation on as far as should it be this or should it be that. It's the little things, right? And they did a really nice job. I would recommend Architecture Incorporated to anybody sitting in this chair in any other school district, and I would wholeheartedly, and I have to a couple people already, recommend General Pitts being, either if you're going to use them as a construction manager, or we can't really speak to their design component because they didn't design this, but they certainly ramrodded it. And while there's a little angst now and then when you're working with vendors, that's just part of the process. But they did a really good job of holding, for the most part, holding just about every vendor accountable, with the exception of one outlier. So, and it got done.
Yeah, get done on time.
So.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one more? When you asked John about the second half, or Mr. M about the second half taxes, the way I look at it right now, I mean, you gotta think about July, we're making another
Payment.
big payment that's gonna be probably 400,000. So that second half taxes is kinda going to cover your payment, two payments throughout the whole year type of mentality. So when I say 600,000 or 500,000 coming in yet, we're not gonna necessarily end at $1.4 million because you're making a large payment right after the first of the year.
There will be at some point, you can have that in there, but then you gotta
But for
turn
like
around
2
and make
weeks or
the
3
payment.
weeks, yeah, 1 month maybe. Does that make sense? That's where I think right now it's pretty,
So have
our
we-
balance is about
yeah.
where it was before and
Yeah. We make one payment one time a year on this, or is it two?
one principal payment
Yes.
one time a year.
And that's the
Two interest
$500,000
payments.
one.
Yes.
And then the interest, we're making two of those.
two of them. One along with that, part of that 500,000 is some interest.
Okay.
And then you make the payment in December, that's interest only.
Oh, great.
That we're just, or January 15th,
Yeah.
that we will do in 2 days. It's already, wire transfer's already set up.
And then those two numbers, not those two numbers, but the number of the principal payment plus what we can do in capital outlay in addressing any of our capital outlay plans, you know, in the 5-year capital outlay plan that I give to you, which I'll probably be giving to you in February of this coming year, you know, to have some conversations, okay, what do we need to do, what do we need to take care of? That's a number we usually focus on, somewhere about an $800,000
Yep.
number, year to year, that we just need to address the in-house stuff and can stay current, you know, with things. So when you add up, I mean, you are levying, you are asking the county, the auditor to acquire dollars to the tune of about 1.3 million in your capital outlay. So, and 500 of that is for the payment, and then the 800 of that is for, you know, doing business. So, sometimes you're short, sometimes you're right there, sometimes maybe a little bit over. So things happen within a school year, such as a sewer main
That's what I was gonna ask.
failing. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't account for that stuff. So
Is it fixed?
a majority of it, let's just put it that way. I'm still battling a little bit. So I'm gonna let it ride to see if we can get through it, to see what else happens. But there's 40 foot that did not get lined because we couldn't see it at the time to whether it needed the lining or not. We finally got into it after the latest debacle here right before Christmas. And I'm working with them to perhaps come and do that last 40 foot. And then everything else should be in pretty good shape. So they'll take care of it. Should, John, don't put a target on me. I'm doing the best I can with that, so.
Any other questions on anything off of that sheet?
Feeling good, Chris?
All right, sounds good. We'll accept a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Moved by John and seconded by Jed. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
We will move to action item B, approve teacher apprenticeship program stipend.
Yeah. So Mr. Fisher referenced our two paraprofessionals that 2 years ago that we had gotten into the state offered teacher apprenticeship program. They built that thing as they were flying it. And what came to fruition out of that is it was actually a true South Dakota United States Department of Labor apprenticeship program. And it's where they got some of the dollars for this in order to do what they were doing on their part as the South Dakota Department of Ed, which really did not know. So they really didn't have all the procedural rules written, this, that, or the other. And one of them that is, come to fruition is the main purpose of paraprofessionals. In order for them to get a degree, work on it, do their student teaching, they had to stay in the position. And that's really hard to do because they have to work and then go to school. And that's why we're short in some of these areas in teachers, because nobody could quit a job, go back to school and afford to go back to school. So we've had this conversation before, but what was not clarified, yes, we agreed to pay those people while they were working on their degree in their current paraprofessional jobs, but we also agreed to pay them when they transitioned into the student teaching experience. So, and that is required. That was expected of the program. You couldn't say, no, we're not doing that anymore. Yeah, you are. Plain and simple. What was not determined, the school board has latitude to make the decision as to what you will pay them. Well, Craig and I felt after more than one conversation as to what would be appropriate for the people. It'd be pretty hard to pull the rug out from underneath of them at this stage of the game and say, okay, yeah, we'll pay you, but we're going to pay you half of what you were making in the particular position area. Didn't think that was fair. So a recommendation, we wanted it in, I guess, a motion, if this ever comes about again or some other program similar, that there's an ask that we have a precedent established as to what that payment would be. So we're recommending that we pay those two individuals in that teacher apprenticeship program their current stipend. And what they-
Current hourly rate.
current hourly
for
rate stipend.
a teacher school day, which the teacher school day is 8 to 3:30 for 7.5 hours. So that's what the motion would be. We'd approve teacher apprenticeship program stipends at their previous hourly rate for the length of the school day for teachers. Christy Ziebart, $18.06 per hour for 7.5 hours a day, and Christy Bieber, $17.39 per hour for 7.5 hours per day.
So is their apprenticeship the whole semester?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
They are both 16-week experiences. And we agreed to that. I think it's good for them. The longer you can do those experiences, the better. We had a slight deviation with Christy Ziebart because we had a situation arise with the personnel in our secondary, and we got it cleared through the teacher apprenticeship program. She is taking a 3-week detour and going into what we would call a long-term sub situation for a teacher in the English language department due to health reasons. So they were perfectly fine with that. They felt very confident. They said it was actually a great experience for her. And then when that is done, that particular individual's back, feeling better, and she'll transition back into her, was to be her placement, which is 3rd grade. And then she will take off and do her student teaching at that point in time. So she's kind of getting double barrels. So baptism by fire, I guess, in more than one way.
So when will these 2 gals be certified?
When they're done. So they'll
Which
have
is
to, at the end of this school year, yep, they'll have to submit all their paperwork. They have their praxis assessments done, which is a requirement of that. And they just need all the paperwork to be submitted to the Department of Ed. And then however long it takes the Department of Ed to return your certificate, then they're a certified teacher. So Christy will be certified K-8 and Christy Ziebart. Christy Bieber will be certified K-12, special ed.
Well,
Yeah.
so is this program, do you know it's going to be continued statewide?
Well, so they did one cohort, there was 90 people in it. And then they did another cohort. And then after that, because of the apprenticeship component of that, the dollars that funded that, done. So it is not something that is being continued for a 3rd cohort. So potentially produced somewhere upwards of 150 plus teachers for the state of South Dakota. And part of it is they had to stay here. So you added to the pool a little bit for sure, you know. But in the fact that in the last 2 years we've been anywhere from 600 to 800 openings in any one given year.
Leading.
I mean, yeah, 150. I mean, it helps, but it's a small Band-Aid. It's not even a big Band-Aid, you know, to try to fill that gap. So it's been a great experience. I helped them and talked with them, both of them through the program. It's interesting, you know, especially for the coursework. You know, they had questions for me. You know, I think it was well worth their time, their effort, your guys' time, especially from a monetary and support perspective, to allow them to do such a thing. And I don't have any reservations about either one of them going into the profession. So I hope they get an opportunity somewhere. And perhaps it's here, I don't know. I mean, that's probably, you know, it'd be good, right? I mean, you put that into them, but you gotta have an opening first. So, which in this particular case, we just got a resignation, so we'll see.
Okay, anybody else? Somebody want to make a motion to approve that apprenticeship program stipend?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved by Turner, second by Pearl. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, we will take a short recess to move into executive session.